Hi, everyone, and welcome to OrthoFi's Industry Expert webinar featuring Brian Wright. Forgive me for starting a little bit late. I had a background from one of OrthoFi's other brands up there, so I needed to change that for a minute. For those of you who are joining one of our webinars for the first time, just let me tell you a little bit about the format. A couple times a month, we bring in some of the industry's most trusted experts, and we just spend an hour learning from them. This year, our primary focus for the webinar series has been really just to take our content from Nexus, which is OrthoFi's annual business meeting, and then we've converted those into 1-hour learning sessions to really help our industry grow and thrive. Just as a side note, stay tuned. At the end of this meeting, we have some exciting news about our 2024 Nexus event that we'll be sharing. So make sure you stick around to the end of this webinar. And also throughout this webinar, you'll be able to submit your questions, and we want to make sure that you use the Q&A at the bottom of your screen rather than the chat. So don't use the chat, use Q&A. Submit your questions. We'll be taking those throughout the night. And then Brian is going to take the last 10 minutes of the webinar. Welcome, Brian. The last 10 minutes of the webinar to answer those questions. So tonight, our industry expert is the fabulous Brian Wright. Brian is a global motivational speaker, a business coach for respected dentists and orthodontists, and he's also the founder and CEO of the New Patient Group. Brian has a podcast, and he also serves in a leadership role at Wright. And let me tell you, I spent some time on the phone with Brian last night learning all about Wright. And if you haven't heard about it yet, I strongly recommend that you just jump on a call with his team and learn a little bit more about Wright. Brian's also an author. He's written for Benson Koppel Resource, and he's been featured in Dental Economics. And he's also a trusted partner with some of the industry leaders like Align, Henry Schein, Propel, and of course, OrthoFi. I know that we have a lot of OrthoFi clients working with Brian, and so we see the results because of OrthoFi's, insights into our customers and how much Brian has been able to drive their success. So, Brian, we are thrilled to have you here tonight, and I want to make sure you have maximum time. So, welcome, and the stage is all yours.
All right. Thanks so much for that great introduction. Welcome inside the broadcast booth, everybody. Looking forward to the next hour. It's been a while since we've done a webinar. Seems like a lot of events are in person now, so this is great. Hello and special welcome to the New Patient Group and Wright family members, all my podcast listeners out there that joined. Welcome inside the broadcast booth, everybody, to the power of PREsuasion. This is one of my favorites. Inevitably, every single time we do this presentation, I have about 11 different ones. So I dug into the bag of goodies and grabbed one of those 11 for tonight. But every time we do this on social media, whether it's a podcast follower, somebody on social media, they tell us, hey, you guys have a misspelling. You have PREsuasion. It's supposed to be persuasion. And that's how powerful some of the things you're going to learn tonight is. It's kind of some of the unknown ways on how to get people psychologically prepared. There's actually a great book from the great Robert Cialdini about this, The Power of PREsuasion, for those people that like to read out there. And inevitably what we're going to do tonight is reimagine part of the new patient experience and just the overall onboarding for this new economy. Now, the power of PREsuasion also goes into after people buy from you and before they show up for maybe their clear aligner delivery to get their braces on, whatever it may be. Tonight, you're going to see a QR code, and that is to the podcast. There are several podcasts I've done this season that go in far more depth than what we're going to be able to go into tonight. So go and check those out. They're also on our YouTube station. So what is the power of PREsuasion? And inevitably, it's the practice of getting people sympathetic or even empathetic to your message and loyal to your brand before they actually experience it. I want to emphasize something to all of you. I cannot emphasize enough how impactful this psychological point that we're going to talk about tonight is towards the patient experience and inevitably the sale and the referral and all those great things that come with offering an exceptional experience and standing out. What you have to remember here with orthodontics, and I have seen this for years, is you are very transactional. I am a private pilot. That's us landing for an event in Austin that I brought the New Patient Group team members in a couple of years ago. And as a pilot, what you learn is it's never about one thing. When you're up in the cockpit, you have all these varying things going on. Air traffic control or ground controls talking to you, maybe departure approach control. Meanwhile, you have speed variance, you have wing levers, you have all these different things that are going on at once. And it's very similar to what all of you have as business owners out there as doctors. It's never about one thing. A lot of private pilots kill themselves because they get so transactional. They're so focused on one thing that the obvious that's staring them right in the face, they don't notice it. And maybe they get too slow on short final and they blow up the plane. And inevitably, there is exactly the same for your business. It is never about one thing. If you have a new patient no-show problem, which in orthodontics, when you're charging $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $9,000 a case, some of you maybe even more, if you have 1 or 2 new patient no-shows a month, that is a problem for your business. Maybe you want more same-day starts. Maybe you're missing some new patient calls, your new patient paperwork. Maybe you say to yourself, I want people to fill that out earlier. We have a problem of people showing up with insurance that is not verified. Price shoppers, right? We want to get people to buy from us at the highest dollar, and we want them to see value in our business over the other places they could shop for. Treatment conversion, maybe your conversion is down, but this is an industry where if your conversion's up, people like to say, wow, I've got a great treatment coordinator. If your conversion's down, we want to send the treatment coordinator to a course to get some sales training maybe. Maybe you want more time. You want to be more efficient. Maybe we want to lower the objection. I need to speak with my spouse. All right. Maybe we want people to be more compliant. Maybe we want more referrals, cash flow, production, collections. Nothing you see on that screen is ever about one thing. You've got to stop the transactional focus and realize there is a journey that the consumer takes with you and you take with the consumer. And inevitably, the goal here is how do you get the best experience for yourself, the best experience for your team, and inevitably the best experience for your customer. And it's never about one thing. We have to reinvent this immersive consumer journey. And it all starts with how you view your business, right? Your business mindset, to when people are looking online, to when they call your practice, to inevitably that downtime after that call is over and before they show up. And then they walk through your door, your new patient experience, your digital workflow, your exam processes. Then you present money. And they either sign the contract at that time or they go into pending treatment and inevitably sign then, or it's a loss of sale. Or maybe it's you're not clinically ready. Come back and see me in 10 months, right? And they do, and contract sign, or maybe that's a loss of sale. But inevitably, this journey that you see on the screen, we're going to focus on the first 4. The power of persuasion as it pertains to all of you is all the things leading up to the point where they walk through your door. And we've already discussed some business mindsets already, and we're going to discuss that the whole night. But let's look at something, because when we take this journey and you want to showcase yourself as unique compared to the other practices, which is what we teach all over the world to all kinds of business owners, it's inevitably how you frame things. And here's an example, and then we're going to dive into the definition of the framing effect. All right, if you are health conscious and you want to eat healthy, you're working out and you go to the store and there's 2 jars of yogurt that are sitting right next to each other. Looking at these, which one would you choose? The one on the left that says contains 10% fat, or the one on the right that says 90% fat-free? And there's a great podcast we did this season all around the framing effect. And obviously, the answer is the one on the right. However, they are saying the same things to you. And inevitably, a lot of you in orthodontics now, because you are commoditized, people are shopping and calling upwards of 5 practices before scheduling. They're shopping upwards of 3 practices, going in 3 practices before deciding what their purchase decision is going to be. So you have to frame things in a way that stands out, just like this 90% fat-free yogurt. Now, the ironic thing about this is, remember, you don't know which one of these yogurts is higher quality. The one on the left actually might have the better ingredients, but the one on the right is the one that is framing it in a way that's going to get you to buy. This is the same thing with your practice. This is one of the reasons why a lot of lesser clinicians, if they run the business right and they frame things to the consumer properly, that lesser of a clinician is going to defeat the best clinician that doesn't frame things properly and comes across like that 10% fat on the left. What is the framing effect? Inevitably, it's the cognitive bias where people decide on options based on how they were presented. And inevitably breaking that down is, it simply put, getting people to draw different conclusions based on the exact same information. And as you take that consumer journey that I showed you earlier, to the consumer, you are the same unless you learn how to frame things in a way to get them to think differently. All right. So now let's dive in. Let's look at digital marketing. Like I said, all night, we're going to be talking business mindset, because everything you see on that screen goes back to your innovation as an entrepreneur. You own your own practice. You are an entrepreneur, right? You are a clinician and an entrepreneur. How you look at everything you see on the screen inevitably will determine how successful you are, and how much advertising dollars you do or don't have to spend, and how hard you do or don't have to work. But digital marketing, I want you to keep this on your mind. We're going to dive through this very quickly. And I want to keep video. We are very big on video marketing. And this is a perfect example. As I dive into some stats here, we're going to run through this portion fast. And then all night, we're going to be tying it back to digital marketing. And it's all inevitably how you work smarter, not harder. If you are not doing video marketing, you are falling behind. Let's look at some data. YouTube is the world's second largest search engine and second most visited site after Google. According to Google, it will become the largest search engine in the world in just a few short years. Over 90% of Gen Z begins searching on YouTube or another video-based platform. On mobile alone, YouTube reaches more 18 to 49-year-olds than any broadcast or cable TV network. And this one is what I believe is most important, is that because Google owns YouTube, they are now rigging the search results on Google to what you're doing over on YouTube. Okay, search rankings on Google are becoming more dependent on what you have video optimized over on your YouTube station for that same exact search term. Now, inevitably, the data proves that YouTube is the new king in town, but there's a way to do it and there's a way not to do it. And I'm going to show you tonight some very unique, innovative ways that you might not have thought about before that are going to enhance the patient experience while sending people back to your YouTube station so it grows and you build that authority on YouTube, you build that authority on Google to help your search rankings, okay? And you'll see as we tie back, especially on the downtime, when we get to after the new patient call, we're really going to be able to dive deep into that. But let's touch on the new patient phone call. There's already been some questions come in around the new patient phone call. It's something that I talk about to business owners in and out of orthodontics all over the world. The new patient phone call is the largest lost opportunity cost for any small business in any commoditized industry. There's all kinds of reasons, and we're going to dive into a few, all right? Let's look at this first. And this is according to Dental Economics and the Benson Koppel, is that people are calling upwards of 5 practices before deciding which of those practices that they want to visit. I want you all to think about that for a second. 5 practices. This is the industry. This is the consumer. This is orthodontics today. People are shopping, and that simply means that the receptionist is the new treatment coordinator in this new economy. The receptionist is not a data collector. Oh, hi, Mr. Jones. What's your GP's name and your address, please? And they are not a data collector. Are there some pieces of data they have to get? Yes, but it's a byproduct of what a new patient call has to be. It's got to separate yourself. You have to create value. You have to create excitement. You have to frame the call in a way that gets people to go, huh, these people are different. And there's a lot of ways to do it. Some of it we're going to dive into tonight. We obviously can't get into all of it, but inevitably the receptionist in most practices, this is what your day looks like. You're being hand clipboards. You're checking people out. You're checking people in. People are walking by. Your door chimer's going off. Your waiting room's packed. Yet you're supposed to be an amazing person on the phones with understanding consumer psychology, verbiage, presentation, salesmanship, hospitality, customer service, all of these things that a Ritz-Carlton spends 250 hours training their receptionist before they're allowed to touch a phone. This is the skill sets, or these are the skill sets you must have. But imagine a treatment coordinator is listening out there. Imagine you sitting in your TC room and the phone rings when you're in a new patient consult, or your door flies open and someone says, "Hey, Betty, I need you." This is what the receptionist deals with every single day, and you would never treat the treatment coordinator that way. We have to start looking at the receptionist as just as much of an impact on the overall salesmanship in your practice as the treatment coordinator. It's a complete shift. Inevitably, there are 12 critical phone mistakes that unfortunately a lot of people in orthodontics teach other people that are costing you millions. We have the data, we see it. And when you fix these 12 mistakes, it is unbelievable what happens to your practice. And the very first one is missed new patient calls. Now, I have a lot of customers on tonight, a lot of podcast followers, people that have seen me speak before. And I bring that up because you all know I'm obsessed with value. I love teaching mindset. I hope you leave here. I hope you remember tonight for the rest of your life. That's what it's all about, is having some kind of impact on every one of you in the audience tonight. I say that because tonight is not a sales pitch, right? I love OrthoFi. I'm going to talk about OrthoFi tonight. I'm faculty with Invisalign, big fan for a lot of different reasons. I own Wright Chat and New Patient Group. You're going to hear those companies tonight, mainly Wright Chat right now. It is not a sales pitch. This is an eye opener. And I'm begging you in the audience to make sure this leaky hole is plugged. A long time ago, we did, or we still do it, but we started tracking the data with New Patient Group. And with our customers, we would do mystery calls every single month, sometimes twice a month, just to make sure if they're doing our phone training, we would use it as coaching and accountability. Or maybe we would do one and coach it and send it to a random practice to say, hey, our coaching would help you. And we started looking at the data and we realized, oh my God, like it's taking 3 mystery calls during regular business hours when you're fully staffed on average to get practices to wake up and actually answer the call. So I said, hey, I'm creating a company. The New Patient Group customers wanted me to, they came to me. I said, I'm creating Wright Chat because nobody leaves a voicemail with an answering service anymore. They are completely obsolete in this commoditized economy. Imagine you're watching a commercial and you see an Invisalign commercial. You go to the Invisalign doctor locator, you type in your zip code, 8 options come up. You pick up the phone, you call practice A and they don't answer. What are you going to do? You're going to sit around and leave a voicemail and let them call you back in a day or two? No. If you go to Google or YouTube, the exact same way. If you miss calls, they will not call you back. And this has happened. If you really open up your eyes, everybody, doctors listening, office managers, team members, regardless of your position in the office, in your lives, you all have things happen that you can relate back to the practice and go, huh, I wonder if we're doing that. Not too long ago, well, this is actually probably a couple of years ago now, we needed a plumber. Called plumber 1, didn't answer. Plumber number 2 didn't answer. Plumber number 3 answered, they got the business. And then we wanted new wood floors in our master bedroom. Called plumber number 1, didn't answer, or excuse me, roofing store number 1 didn't answer. Roofing company number 2 didn't answer. Roofing company number 3 answered, got the business. My dog Winston, my kid Braden's right behind him here. We were outside playing. Braden swung the bat, didn't know Winston was behind him, crushed him in the skull. It was a pretty nasty scene. He's okay now. What did we do? And this is all during regular business hours. Called vet number 1, nobody answered. Vet number 2, nobody answered. Vet number 3 answered, got the business. They were great when we went inside and we're still a customer today. And the scary thing for all of you out there in orthodontics is remember transactional thinking where you're so singular focused, like I talked about. These are never about one thing. We actually answer 30% less new patient calls with our OrthoFi practices than non. Right? Because again, it's not about one single thing. While your people may be verifying insurance and being frustrated on the phone, in an OrthoFi practice, that doesn't happen. So when a phone rings, they're more likely to grab it, right? But there's a multitude of other things that are involved with that as well. We answer remote in and schedule 3 to 5 missed new patient calls a month for practices averaging right around 30 new patients. That is an instant boost in revenue of $18,000 to $30,000 a month on an average case fee of $6,000, staring all of you right in the face that you're all missing now. Mark Olson, his very first month, we answered 13 new patient phone calls, and he's actually an OrthoFi customer. So you can imagine if he wasn't, how many we would have answered. And let me put this in perspective, some numbers. Not going to do a lot of numbers tonight, but this is one of the reasons why I love helping orthodontists and their practices, because you're not charging $10 for a t-shirt. Okay. You're charging high dollar, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000. Look at the numbers, 3 missed calls with new patients a month. That's 36 a year. An average case fee of $6,000, that's 18,000 lost a month, 216,000 lost a year. If you have a 70% treatment conversion, overall, you're losing $151,200 right now. And because you don't feel it like you do your Invisalign lab bill as an example, you're not rushing out to fix it. But these are the lost opportunities that happen to us as business owners. And that's why the best entrepreneurs like a Mark Cuban, we are constantly looking for opportunities where others are not. All right. The question I love asking audiences when I'm on stage is, when do you think you're missing most of the calls? Because we have the data. And rarely do they guess this. You know, they may have an answering service during lunch or early morning, late evening. And yes, are those needed? Of course they're needed. But when you need it the most is when you don't have it, and it's during regular business hours. And it goes back to the fact that no one's going to leave a voicemail. You've got to have someone answer, speak as your own employee, remote in, and schedule that person. All right. Lack of salesmanship is the next one. I talk a lot about lack of value. When I'm on stage, I talk a lot about, okay, well, here's some questions. What does my first appointment look like? How much do you charge for Invisalign? A lot of the standard questions that receptionists get. And if you bring up 10 receptionists on stage and you ask those questions, they all respond the same, which is why you have a value problem with the consumer, because the more they shop and the more they hear the same things from multiple practices, their conclusion is why do you charge 7 when the other charges 5? That creates the price shopper, right? In order to get somebody to spend 7 or 8,000 when other people charge 5 or 6, they have to see more value in not just one area of your practice, but all of these consumer interactions. Again, it's not about one thing. But lack of salesmanship. This is going to be, hopefully you guys screenshot this, because if you can implement these next 3 slides, you will see an immediate impact for your practice. All right. Take this for an example. New patients do not know that they can come in and start with your practice day 1. Now, when I say that, I mean sign the contract day 1. You may not put the braces on today. You should strive to do that. Or obviously you can't put the clear aligners on today. You've got to order them, etc. But you as a receptionist, you hold the psychological impact by just letting them know, Mrs. Jones, we know that you are busy. Your time is very valuable and we respect it. We're going to greet you right when you walk through the door because that's what you and your family deserve. And our patients really love that we offer the convenience of being able to start treatment at your very first appointment. All right. Just that paragraph. Now you could see I added some to it, right? Because at least that will get you started, but it's all about being just from the heart, not scripted, from the heart. Scripts and C3PO doesn't close deals. Your passion, your enthusiasm, your excitement, all of those things, that closes people at a higher dollar. So what about if we continued though? Is Mrs. Jones, we are happy to invite any other decision makers involved with Joey's treatment to his appointment. I will also be emailing you Zoom details after this call that you can provide to those decision makers in case they cannot make it at Thursday at 2 o'clock with you and Joey. Boom. What have we done? We just helped the treatment coordinator. And is it going to work 100% of the time? Of course not. But imagine the last 5 years of your practice. How many times you've heard, I need to speak with my spouse? And imagine if 20% of those you didn't hear, right? It's all about playing the numbers. It's all about minimizing things as a small business, right? Because every little thing is a big deal when you're a small business. Gigantic corporations, they can't see those lost opportunities coming out of their account. As small business owners, as an entrepreneur, you've got to plug these things. You've got to be innovative. And this is one way that the receptionist is your new treatment coordinator. Receptionist, you have a direct impact on getting that other spouse to show up in person or virtually. All right. And it doesn't have to be a Zoom meeting. You know, that was an example. You could prepare them for a FaceTime as an example, right? Zoom's ideal. You put them up on the big screen. They're in there with you, or just on maybe your smaller computer if you have one of those, but you get the point. But we can't stop there. All right. You've already psychologically let them know that, hey, look, you can come in and buy from us day 1. It's convenient. We respect your time. Why would you want to come back 3 or 4 times? You've let them know. Just that education puts them in a higher chances of them saying yes to you day 1. We've got the spousal objection taken care of. And then now, and we see this work with Wright Chat, We see this work with our new patient group training is now, Mrs. Jones, we see patients as young as 7. In fact, it's really important to start kids off young, give them a good foundation. It's going to save you a lot of time and effort and energy down the road. Very important we see kids as young as 7. Does Braden happen to have any brothers or sisters that would like to join him for his appointment? And just a couple days ago, I had Brenna from Wright chat let me know, hey, we just had, a couple practices, this verbiage worked. We took a
Hey, Brian, I think that you hit mute accidentally.
Let me see if I'm off. Okay,
There
we
you
go.
go.
There we go. All right. I don't know when I hit that, so let's go back here. So this verbiage right here, Mrs. Jones, we see patients as young as 7. So important that we see kids as young as 7 to set them up right, give a good foundation, just like a great house is built on a great foundation. Very important. It'll save you time, effort, and energy down the road. So does Braden happen to have any other brothers or sisters that would like to join him for his appointment? And bam, you just went from 1 new patient to possibly 2. We see this. You may have all heard this already. I didn't know exactly when the mute button was hit, but just the other day, Brenna let me know from Wright chat, hey, look, we've been implementing this verbiage and we had 2 practices just today. They went from just the kid to now the kid's sister or the brother is coming with it. And receptionist, this is the power you have. You are not a data collector. I beg all of you to realize and get the training or outsource this to a company that already has that training in place. I beg you to look at your job. And doctors, I beg you to look at the receptionist job as equally as important as the treatment coordinator. The receptionist holds the keys on whether or not somebody fills out the paperwork early. The receptionist holds the keys on helping out that spousal objection. The receptionist holds the keys to getting 2 people in through the door or 1. We've even had a practice where 3 kids showed up because there was twins. So he had like a 10-year-old coming in. They asked that verbiage and boom, here come the twins. And now we've got 3 new patients, all because of the power of the receptionist. And there is so much more to this. But that is how you're getting people psychologically move towards a place where they are seeing more value in you. And when people see more value in you, they show up. They show up ready to buy. So critically important. Now let's look at the downtime. The downtime is after the new patient phone call is over and before they pull in your parking lot and inevitably walk through your door. So let's dive into a couple stats here. Back to the dental economics and Benson Koppel stats. Before, people were calling upwards of 5 practices. Now people visit upwards of 3 practices. So you think about this for a second, right? The journey has just begun, right? You've got your business mindset in place. You're doing a fabulous, beautiful video marketing. You've got your website looking wonderful. Your social media looks the part. You've plated your food online better than your other people out there that I could choose. Right? Then I pick up the phone. You've got a receptionist that really, really is an expert with their salesmanship and their edification and how they put you as a doctor at a different level than the other places, your team, your culture, your technologies. And OrthoFi, by the way, for people who use them that are on tonight, that is a technology you should be edifying around. It separates you from the pack. If you're not using them and people are shopping around and they hit an OrthoFi practice, an OrthoFi practice has the upper hand on your practice, period, as long as the team knows how to sell the value to the consumer. But because people are going in upwards of 3 practices before making a buying decision, and remember, a buying decision can mean I'm not buying anywhere, and that happens all the time. I have a whole upcoming podcast about that. It's the multi-million-dollar lost opportunity you may never thought about. And it's the people that came in 6 months ago, said, let me think about it. Now it's 2-3 years later, and they never bought anywhere. Life happened. But remember, because people are going in places, if they go into a place tomorrow that they like, but they scheduled for you for 3 days from now, how are you going to get them to still say, let me think about it, to that practice they really liked and come see you? Well, it starts with the receptionist. Did the receptionist sell them on why you are better than the other options out there? It's where it starts, but it's also the downtime concepts that we're going to dive into now. Look, pretty important, and it's pretty sad. The average consumer attention span now has dropped to 8 seconds, according to Microsoft, and that is 1 second less than a goldfish. So apparently we have goldfish out there swimming in a tank that are now smarter than us as humans. Doesn't it feel wonderful and great? This is a decrease from 12 seconds back in 2000. Now, part of the reason why is, according to Forbes, we as humans see an average of more than 10,000 marketing messages on any given day. We're hit with all kinds of things. And this is why your competition is not Joe, the orthodontist down the street, charging $1,000 less than you. Your competition is how much value can you put on you over Joe and the other places I can spend my disposable income. And when the economy's tight, how do you be even better at that so you don't have to reduce your prices to make more closes? So this downtime, guys, you've got to think outside the box. Manual paperwork, we'll talk about that in a second. Text message reminders, which we actually have data on, can hurt people showing up. And the reason is they are getting text messages from 2, 3, 4 other practices that they've likely scheduled with as well. They turn them off, they ignore them. You've got to stand out. The TCs making calls and trying to hunt people down, outdated. The front desk making confirmation calls. Are you going to show up? All of that is being reactive. Every second you're making a confirmation call, you should be on the phone following up with somebody that didn't buy from you, shooting a new social media video, a new YouTube video, being proactive and working on the business rather than stuck inside the practice, which inevitably is everything we teach, is how you go from the chief everything officer to the chief executive officer. Very few entrepreneurs learn how to do that. All right, so how do we think differently from this outdated way of thinking? All right, this is how we're going to do it, but let me put a couple things in a perspective here. All right, just like we talked about the previous loss, let's pretend you have 3 new patient no-shows per month and understand, is it nice when people no-show? Of course it's not. But what I'm going to say here, it may stir some feathers, but the no-shows are your fault. All right. Just like when a patient isn't compliant and they don't wear their aligners, and I have a whole 3-hour workshop around what I'm about to say, when people aren't compliant, that's on you. And there's all kinds of reasons for it. Okay. Right here, 3 new patient no-shows per month. That's 36 a year, plus the referral stream. And remember, transactional thinking. When you have Joey come in and buy from you, that is not where you make your money. You make your money off of Joey's 2 friends, their 3 sisters, their 3 sisters, 2 brothers, and their 6 best friends. You make your money off of the referral stream that comes from that start. You're not making your money off of that start. An average case fee back to 6,000. That's 18,000 lost a month, 216 a year. Do the math with 70% treatment acceptance, and you lose $151,200 a year because of new patient no-shows. But now, between the no-shows and the missed calls, and this is money, I think you all can agree, if this money was being yanked out of your bank account every day, you would be chasing all over the place looking for solutions. But because it's not, it's so hard to get people motivated to wake up in the morning and say, I am going to fix these. I'm going to plug the leaky hole. I'm going to change how we are framing the new patient experience so we can frame things in a way that get people to show up, frame things in a way where I'm going to stop missing these calls. So look at this combination. This is now 6 new patient loss per month in just 2 areas of your practice, missed calls and downtime. 72 new patients lost a year, 6,000 plus the referral stream, which I would again argue that's the most important thing you see on this screen. Average case fee of $6,000. That's now 25,200 lost per month, 432,000 lost a year, 70% treatment acceptance. You are losing $302,000 a year in potential revenue just in 2 areas of your practice. But it's not being yanked out of the bank account. So you have to be an infinite-minded human being to realize these things are happening to you, whether you want to admit it or not. So how do we change the downtime concepts? Well, the very first thing we're going to do when we hang up that phone is we are going to text this.
Hi, I'm Dr. Randy Wright, and I'd like to welcome you to our orthodontic family. We're all very excited that you've chosen to spend your valuable time with us. I have a wonderful team that are not only great employees, but they're great people with big hearts. We have such a fun time together with our patients. In fact, I suggest you check out our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages. We have a lot of fun around here. One of my favorite things to share with you is our 3D iTero smile simulation. It's so exciting to see the transformation, taking your teeth from their current position into a simulated smile result. There's a lot of work we dedicate to giving you a great smile, but the technology is so amazing, and again, I look forward to sharing it with you. Something I'm really proud of is being one of the area's top providers of Invisalign clear aligners. Now, a little bit about me personally. I'm originally from Louisiana, but have lived in the Tri-Cities area for the past 20 years and absolutely love the community. I have two fantastic kids, Daniel and Elena, and I love having my beautiful wife Maria working alongside me every day. Together, we love spending time traveling.
For time purposes, we're going to keep on rolling. Randy Wright's been with us for years, and I chose him, and I usually choose him when I'm on stage as well, because sometimes the excuse is, well, I'm shy, I'm not good on camera. Well, there's nobody worse than Randy Wright. And man, if you're watching, I love you. You know how close we are. But that is the point, is that any of you can do this. Now, that was our digital marketing team shooting that. There's a lot of hidden emotional buy-in messages, like the iTero scanner, which receptionist you should be edifying on the phone. You should have as part of your new patient experience. They should be scanned every single new patient. And if you know how to use it, your sales will go up immediately. But that's another way to separate yourself from the analog-based photos and all that, yanking the cheeks apart, all of that stuff. So you want to text this right after, immediately after that new patient phone call. Reciprocity, the more upfront, the more they feel obligated to return, okay? So you're going to text it. It will populate on their phone. Unless they have a Droid, it won't. All right, now, OrthoFi users, right? This is the email that goes out from OrthoFi that's automatically to the patient. You can personalize this email. Some of you don't know that. I've come across a few people that did not know this. This email can be personalized, and you can just put this welcome video into the email and have that go out. Okay, again, hands-off approach. You know that it's always going to be sent. Nobody has to do any work. Now, I have seen a higher engagement via text. That's obvious. We carry our phones around everywhere we go. But the email works just fine. You're going to have a wonderful adoption rate with the email as well. Just email that out. Now, really fast, before I get into what you see on the screen here, is it doesn't have to be perfect, okay? Tomorrow, you can shoot a selfie video, and that can be your welcome video. It doesn't have to be perfect, okay? Don't wait 3 years trying to get it perfect. Just implement this. You can always make it better later, okay? Another thing too, it's critically important to understand and just remember what the consumer is thinking. Like if you looked at that, that puts you an immediate framework, since that's what we're talking about, ahead of the other practice that was just a standard, okay, we'll see it 2 o'clock, bye, nothing happens. You know, maybe this happens. Maybe they get emailed a printable paperwork, and oh man, everybody, if this is you, you have to understand that consumers are paying attention to every single thing you do, especially non-clinically, because that's all they can truly relate to, all these non-clinical interactions. And if you send them out basically the equivalent of a clipboard, and here you go, of course, you're the one that contains 10% fat when the OrthoFi users are just touching a couple buttons on their phone, right? And it's just automatically sent to them with nobody having to lift a finger, right? You've got to go digital with your paperwork. The consumer is paying attention to everything.
They say the American medical system is the best in the world. I'll be impressed when I am no longer handed a clipboard when I check in for my doctor visit. It is so Stone Age. You know, we live in a world of barcodes and microchips. What's with the clipboard? I'm here for my 10 o'clock appointment. Here's your clipboard. There's 257 pages on there. Here's a pen with a flower on it. Go sit with all those other people and don't even think of coming back to this counter until you've completely filled out your clipboard.
So that is my favorite comedian, Brian Regan. He's clean, so my little kids can watch him too. That was from On the Rocks, so it's on Netflix, and he's hysterical. But there's a true business lesson to be learned from that, is that consumers are paying attention to what you're doing throughout the journey. And it's never, again, about one thing. If you want to reduce your no-shows, it's not just about the receptionist being great and selling people to show up, right? If you then send out a bunch of analog-based paperwork, you could mess that all up. Or it's the other way around. Just because you're digital, if the receptionist doesn't say, Mrs. Jones, look, I know you've filled out a lot of paperwork before, and you probably feel it's a waste of your time. Nobody even pays attention to it. Well, look, here we're different. It's all digital, right? It's our commitment to invest in the best technologies. It's digital. You can fill it out right from your phone. And what we're going to do with that, Mrs. Jones, is we're going to sit down as a team. We're going to go over that, and we're going to create a personalized experience for you and your family, because that is what you deserve. We're not going to make you repeat yourself. We're going to be on top of things. So can I have your commitment to fill that out today or tomorrow morning? So boom, framing effect. Consumers think the paperwork is a joke. Why? Everywhere they've ever been, it's a joke. So you, as a receptionist, just doing the verbiage, and we don't have time. I didn't have time to go into all the verbiage, obviously, tonight, but that's an example of what a Wright chat agent would say, or what our new patient group phone training would be all about. If the receptionist can nail that, you're going to have an increase in paperwork. Now, if you combine it with the digital paperwork, it's going to skyrocket. It's never about one thing. Now, according to OrthoFi, I love this data, 14% increase in same-day starts when the patient knows their insurance benefits prior to entering your practice. So it's not just about getting it verified, right? You may feel like you have that down. Maybe OrthoFi practices, maybe, you probably definitely have that down. But the reality is it goes a step further. We have to communicate this. Okay, we have to communicate it, meaning just like I was saying, the receptionist has got to sell the value on them filling out the paperwork early. You've got to finish it with a commitment question. And there's a reason why flight attendants say and have a commitment question. If you're in the exit row on a plane, it works. And then you've got to be mobile friendly, digital with your paperwork. But then we've got to go a step beyond. And I'm going to get there in just a second. But how much time do you spend? And this is an example of being reactive instead of proactive, being stuck inside your practice rather than working on your business. How much time do you spend trying to verify insurance, right? And how many new patient calls do you miss while you're stuck on the phone with insurance? How many same-day starts do you lose because insurance isn't verified? How does your mood change dealing with the insurance companies? I don't know about you, but I can't stand dealing with the Blue Cross insurance people with us. When I've got a call with our insurance for our family, it's a nightmare. Right? How's the new patient experience then affected? Because you can't greet people right when they walk through the door when you're stuck in a room verifying insurance. And then doctors, the whole wash, rinse, repeat cycle. What if you like your insurance person, but she leaves? Boom, wash, rinse, repeat. What are you going to do then? Right? We've got to do things differently. And with all that work, in orthodontics, there's a less than 50% adoption rate of the paperwork and early verification of insurance. And this is why, going back to, it's never one thing. With OrthoFi, they provide this full service solution for you. Why would you want to do it yourself when you can outsource it to experts and then take the people that you have in your practice and reinvent their job description? It's an extra person to answer for existing patients when they call, so you don't make them mad. It's an extra person to help you answer a missed new patient call that you otherwise would have missed. They could be following up with pending treatment, managing your OBS list. According to Gage, there's only 40% of people show back up to the practice when they're put into OBS. All of these positions can be reworked in your office so you're proactive instead of reactive. But back to our contains 10% fact. Imagine again you're shopping and you get this call from a TC, and let's say she's perfectly nice. And first of all, from a TC standpoint, it's annoying, doctors. They have enough to do. And every confirmation call or every new patient welcome call they make, better served when they are in their room following up with people. And earlier, I didn't say this, but this welcome video, and again, what works smarter, not harder. The welcome video of Randy Wright that I showed you, that goes on your YouTube station. So every time they click it, a new patient clicks it, you get a YouTube view. You build your authority. You are working smarter, not harder. You are using your digital marketing to actually drive the experience of people that have already scheduled with you, as well as people that are already in treatment with you. Get them to watch your YouTube videos. It will boost your rankings, and organically more people will find you. Work smarter, not harder. This is a perfect example on your own time, TCs. And again, this is how you stand out.
Good morning, Ms. Johnson and Emma. I'm Stephanie, the treatment coordinator here at Williams Orthodontics. I just wanted to virtually pop in and meet you guys and also let you know I'm here to guide you along the whole journey. And I've been doing some research on your benefits. You have $1,500 of orthodontic coverage, which is awesome, and going to help us get Emma started right away. I am here to help, so please don't hesitate to reach out, and I can't wait to see you guys on Thursday.
Who is winning this battle? And it's the 90% fat-free. You're using the power of video to stand out. You're being more efficient. You're saving time. You're not doing what the other practices are doing, because I hate to tell you, TCs, if you're making confirmation calls or whatever you want to call it, so are the other practices. It's a common thing done in orthodontics. If you're doing text reminders, so are the other practices. If your front desk is making, hey, Mr. Jones, are you coming in at your 2 o'clock tomorrow? Everybody does that. And those calls are not needed. They're only needed is if your receptionist didn't sell the value and your TC, or excuse me, if your paperwork is analog and then you're trying to be like everybody else. Take a video. Be different and unique. All right. And lastly, instead of a text message reminder, and we're almost done, everybody, we'll get into question and answers. Instead of the text message reminder, imagine sending this out. To make sure that we have enough time for question and answers, but instead of a text message reminder, how about putting something on your YouTube station? Make it awesome. And again, work smarter, not harder. That's a text message video reminder, a text appointment reminder. The second they click on it, you're building your YouTube presence. It's one and done. Nobody has to pick up a phone. In our practices, the no-show rate is basically 0, and they're making no confirmation calls, et cetera, et cetera. It's because you're standing out, you're wowing people, and you're working less. You're working smarter, not harder. You've heard me say it 100 times, and I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to leave it on this video here, and I've got 1 or 2 more slides to finish with a final message here, and we'll open it up for questions.
I'm sorry, George.
But I don't understand. Things were going so great. What happened? Something must have happened.
It's not you. It's me.
You're giving me the it's not you, it's me routine? I invented it's not you, it's me. Nobody tells me it's them, not me. If it's anybody, it's me.
All right. George, it's you.
You're damn right it's me.
Doctors, team members, if you're feeling stressed, if things are chaotic, doctors, if you're just aggravated because all the business stuff takes away from the fun of you being a clinician, if your conversion's down, no shows are up, you don't feel like you could charge as much in a down economy, whatever it is, whatever your struggles are, it's all because of the choices you are making. As hard as that is to hear, I'm here to tell the truth and not hide behind it. It's why we have a very loyal following. If you want yes people, we're not it. These things can be corrected, but you have to look in the mirror. If you have a no-show, you can't say they're a bad patient. The industry loves to say that. You have to say they no-showed because we didn't put enough value before they went and bought somewhere else. All right, you have got to learn how to work you've got to take yourself away from working in your business, because all that does is work on today's income. Reshape the way you think so you can all work on tomorrow, because tomorrow is growing your income. And those are 2 very, very different things. I hope you all enjoyed Working Smarter, Not Harder, the power of PREsuasion and reinventing the new patient onboarding experience to thrive in the new economy. And now I'm going to unshare here, and hopefully we have some great questions.
Brian, that was fabulous. So much great information. Maybe a lot to process. I know that our listeners are really trying to process everything. I may get you at some point during these questions to share that one slide that kind of showed the progression of the, I think there were 12. I think that's a fabulous slide, and I'd love for the audience to see that one more time. Also want to start with one question that we get all the time. And every time we're doing a webinar, I say I'm going to address it right up front, and then I always forget to. You will be receiving a recording of this webinar. We always get that question because like I said, it's just a lot of information to take in. So we'll be sharing that after. And then, you'll also be able to communicate with Brian if you have any questions. So we do have some great questions. I'm just going to jump right in. And so, Brian, I know you talked a lot about kind of prepping the patient before the consult to get the same day start. So this listener really wants to know, we always get the, well, I need to go home and talk to so-and-so about it. So they're really looking for scripting on that phone for that phone call to get them to show up and also be ready to sign. And also to be kind of able to ask for the down payment if there is going to be one. So some scripting around that. And I know that Wright Chat has, great options for that. But what would you say to scripting on that?
Yeah, I mean, this is around what we would train our Wright Chat agents on, but also what New Patient Group trains, all of the customers on as far as the phone training goes. Is one, I covered one tonight, is remember, you're getting the let me think about it. And this is, a lot of you know me, a lot of you don't, but I'm going to say the quote unquote dirty word here, it's sales. The sooner all of you can realize that you are in sales because you're in a people business, the better. And all that means is learning how to educate in a way that places more value on you than others. That's all it is. That there's no reason to think it's a dirty word. I think people think that because they're thinking of a car salesman, that's the old image that comes to mind. Inevitably, here, let me turn off my alarm. It just went off. Yeah, I finished early. I finished on time a little bit. That was my, hey, be quiet, Brian alarm. So a couple things. It's not one thing. You're asking for scripting. The same day start and whether or not somebody says yes to you at the end has just as much to do with how you greet them when they walk through the door as it does the new patient phone call. It has just as much to do as what you're dripping them in the downtime concepts as it does the way the TC speaks in the sales room. This is a journey that they are taking with you, and you're taking with them. So the whole, let me speak with my spouse, that can be reduced just by you training the receptionist to do what I talked about tonight. Remember, inviting the other decision maker or decision makers to join you in person for that event. Or if they can't make it, let's do a FaceTime or we can send you a Zoom link. All of you could put that in. Now it's if it goes unscripted and it's more powerful than that, but that alone will help the I need to speak with my spouse objection. But you also have to understand, a lot of times when people say I need to speak with my spouse, they're full of crap. That's the human way of saying, you just missed the mark and I'm going to buy somewhere else. Okay. So something that we teach that is not about the PREsuasion, this is PREsuasion, that will help you is if you get that in the TC room, what you need to do is first say, what do you think Mr. Jones' biggest concerns will be? They will answer that question. And it's usually price, and he doesn't think they need it, right? You're going to hear that a lot, TCs. So your response back is we hear that all the time. I tell you what, Mrs. Jones, get out your phone, take a video of me. I'm going to introduce myself, and I'm going to go over those concerns. And that way, Mrs. Jones can go and hand that video to Mr. Jones. And now you're the salesman putting value on your product, not mom, because mom does not want to be stuck in that position anyway. And you are always going to be better at selling your value than one of your customers. That's just the reality. The other piece too is just by letting people know on the phones, which I talked about tonight. And don't underestimate this. The PREsuasion concept in that book, it is so unbelievably powerful, and it could apply to anybody. Restaurant has a downtime concept and they have a new patient phone call. Right. So it works, but you have to, on the phone, just let people know how much you respect their time, how much you know that they're busy, that they're going to be greeted when they walk through the door by Betty. Now you got to greet them. You can't lie. So you've got to have your new patient experience set up right. But the other piece is look, we're going to offer you the convenience of getting started at that very first appointment. See, they don't know, everybody. They're not in orthodontics. They don't know they can come sign a contract day one. or get the braces put on day one, or order the clear liners. They don't know that unless you're educating them. The same way the parents don't know, because when they were kids, people weren't seen at 7 years old. Now they are. Early treatment is proven to be very beneficial, right? So because of that, receptionists, you have to do the edifying. And through this process, and I know it's a long-winded answer because there isn't a, here's a script, go implement it, all your problems solved. It is the journey that I showed you that inevitably get people to say, here's my money at the highest levels. But some of the things I just talked about will absolutely reduce the objections you're getting in the treatment coordinator room or in some other part of that journey. Did that answer it? Hopefully that answered it.
Yeah, that was a great answer. And we are getting close to running out of time. There's a couple questions, maybe we can get to a few more. There are a few questions about the video. So one is just, we're having a hard problem figuring out which videos we start with. So if you were to recommend some top videos that the practice should get recorded and get put on YouTube today, immediately, which ones would you say to start with?
Well, the TC one is personalized, so that one's per patient. So you're not going to put that one on video. But the one that I would suggest, right away, is the welcome video. There's something called a deep dive effect, meaning that you suck in so much information, you inevitably end up not doing anything. And that is a real problem in orthodontics. You go to the AAO, you come back with 9,000 ideas. This is one of these things that you're not going to get it perfect tomorrow, but tomorrow morning, get into the office, have somebody, take a phone, video you, doctor, and just say, hey, Dr. Brian here, want to welcome you to our family. We're going to take great care of you. The team's going to take great care of you. And thanks for spending time with us. Boom, there's your welcome video. Now that's not going to go on YouTube. It's too short. I mean, I guess it could, but it's probably too short. But that's a video that you could start texting out tomorrow morning. And it immediately separates you from, it's like if a chef said, hey, I'm back here in the kitchen. Thanks for scheduling with our restaurant for the very first time. Can't wait to see you. Imagine how surprised you would be getting a video like that from the head chef. That's the empowerment, or that's the power you all have as the business owner and the doctor to just shoot something. Doesn't have to be perfect. That's where I would start. Make it perfect later.
Okay. And then is there any technology that you recommend specifically for these videos, or is an iPhone enough?
The iPhone is more than enough. All of you are orthodontic practices. You're not professional videographers. We use some awesome stuff with people that do digital marketing with us, but honestly, is it needed? Yeah. It's nice. It looks great. But no one's going to get a video from you and go, well, that wasn't in 4K. I'm not buying. They're just never going to cross their mind. They're just going to go, wow, that was freaking cool. Never seen that before. I wonder what's next. I want to learn more about this place. Mm-hmm. Right. And this is why the PREsuasion concept is so powerful, is how they view you before they show up is how they're going to view everything else in your organization. It gives you such a hand up. So no tech, just iPhone is fine, especially the newer ones. The newer ones are the equivalent of a professional camera.
Right. Okay. And then what about if the practice has 2 locations? Should they be filming separate videos for each, or should they be highlighting both on the same reel?
The answer to that question is simple. It depends if you have 1 or 2 YouTube stations. So if you have 1 YouTube station, which I'm assuming you do, I'm assuming both locations are named the same, just 1 video, and you want to drive as many people to that 1 video as possible. Yep, that's it. If you want to take a little shot of one practice and a little shot inside another, that's fine. But again, there's no right or wrong. If you just do it from inside one practice, again, no one's going to show up and go, I'm confused. I'm in the wrong spot. I don't like you. Like they're not gonna think that way. But the problem is a lot of you think that way, and you get in your own way of actually going and being a doer. And that's what we teach. Just do, screw it up, and then you can perfect the screw up, but you can't perfect the not doing. Like the not doing will always be the biggest screw up you can have. So just do it quick and perfect it later.
Love that. So Brian, we do have a few more questions, but we are always committed to letting our listeners out on time. Brian did promise me before this that if we ended up going over time, that he would take the remaining questions and get some answers to our audience. So thank you so much for that, Brian. This has been a fantastic webinar. Lauren, if you don't mind just sharing your screen, a couple of, just to kind of finish up the night, a few things that I want to present to everybody.
Do you want me to show them that journey slide before we get off?
Yeah, I would love to see that one more
All right,
time.
let me pull it up, and there's two that I'm going to show everybody really fast. And
Okay.
this is coming from, so Regina Blevins and I are speaking at Orthopreneurs together, and this is coming from that deck. Let me find. Okay, so this is the one I showed you. Ignore the
Mhm.
circles. This is
Yes.
the screen. Everybody screenshot that.
Yeah.
I'll give you a few seconds, and then there's one more, and we didn't have time tonight, but I'm going to show you something really quick that I think is worth it. So there's that one.
Yeah, I think if everyone takes a screenshot of that, I think that really gives you some, honestly, really some step-by-step things that you can work on that are real great takeaways, and that, maybe Wright Chat or New Patient Group or even OrthoFi can help you with.
And then the last one is this. So again, you're going to have to ignore the circles, but this right here. So after they buy everybody, the PREsuasion concept works as well. So we don't have time, but still what you're dripping them before their clear liners show up and they walk into the start appointment, very much has to do with whether or not they're going to be compliant or engaged, et cetera. So this is Regina Blevins, a clear liner journey, if you will, that we've worked on with her. And this is a screenshot because the journey is more important than the result. Meaning if they get a perfect clinical result, but the journey it took to get there sucked, because they're non-clinical, that never works is a beautiful journey with an average result because they're not clinical. And I need you all to remember that this journey does not end once they buy from you. It should get even better. All right. So screenshot that and just plug your own things into it.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. If you'll just quit sharing for just a minute. I do want to show the audience just one more thing before we go. To any of you who have learned a little bit more about OrthoFi tonight that you weren't aware of, we are, after these webinars, we usually run a webinar special. And the one for this particular webinar is that if you complete a demo by September 1, you'll receive $2,000 off your setup fee. So that's a great offer. And then also the first 3 practices that do sign up will receive a full 50% off. So great option there if you want to scan that QR code. And I also promised everyone that we would reveal a little bit of information about Nexus. Our Nexus conference is coming up February 1 through 3 in Denver. And we have the site now up to let you register. So we would love for you to use this QR code, learn a little bit more about the event, and scan here. Lauren, if you are ready, I'm going to stop sharing. And if you have the video, I would love for you to show that for the group. Okay, don't know if that's going to happen tonight. Okay, well, awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us. And Brian, again, awesome job. And here's the video for Nexus. As you go out, you can take a look at this. Thank you. Thanks, Brian. Thanks again, and we hope you'll all join us at Nexus.